What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode here of Palangi Studio of Rock, only on Radio Wigwam. Today we got Joe from the Midnight Revival Band here. We are both locals from Glens Falls, correct?
Only the best.
Only the best. I mean, I'm from Queensbury, but Glens Falls is literally right there.
It's the same thing.
So where are you today? Where are you at right now?
I'm in Albany right now, working.
Hanging out. All right, cool, cool.
Albany's my day job.
So digging a t-shirt, everyone tuning in on the radio side, he's got a Metallica t-shirt. So I guarantee you he likes Metallica.
I do, actually. You know what? I'm one of the real Metallica fans, FYI, not those Stranger Things people, but
okay.
I'm also a big fan of the Black Album, despite how much criticism it gets for tried and true Metallica fans. I think it's a great album.
Everybody loves that album, even if they say they don't, where they're like, "Oh, they sold out" or something. They love it.
Well, dude, I was a late Metallica kid. I mean, I was born in '85. I got into Metallica, when I was like 10, so that's 95. So The Black Album was fairly new still around that time, and that album was my introduction into Metallica. So
yeah, somebody burned it for me. They burned it on a CD with an Ozzy. I think it was Blizzard of Oz. And I listened to it. I remember I was like, what the hell is this? I go, I love it though. I go, this is the guitar playing. I don't know if you agree, but when I listen to that stuff, I go, that's the stuff that I have to learn on a guitar to play better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I hope Lars isn't listening.
He may be. He's got his own radio show. I'll team up with him. I don't care. No, let's see. Yeah, no, it'd be cool. So, any Metallica influence in your own music here? So, before we get into it, I noticed each release is a completely different style for your band, which is, I think, unique.
Yeah, I mean, we grow, quickly. If that's what how I can describe it. I don't know. I mean, our music taste just changes a lot. It's just personal growth, I mean,
yeah.
When we started this band, we were listening to a whole lot of like outlaw country, in the vein of like Johnny Cash and Brett Detter and bands like that. And then so that's kind of what our style reflected then. And then we grew more heavily into Southern metal. So we were listening to bands like Maylene and the Sons of Disaster and Crowbot and He Is Legend. And then I mean, the list goes on. And then, right now, I mean, past couple of years, we've been into bands like Skid Row. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was going to say that. So an 80s metal album, especially Wild Woman, that's the one I listened to. And I was like, geez, this is very, very 80s.
Yeah, that's, we started dabbling with this sound at the tail end of 2019. We had written a song called Sellout.
Okay.
And that's the first time that we had gotten into glam rock territory. It had that real like that classic Skid Row type riff, that very sleazy dance.
I was gonna say the sound. Is that from Dylan?
That riff was actually written by Alex.
Okay.
But Dylan's on that recording. Dylan played mostly the lead on that track. Al did the rhythms.
Okay. I could tell Dylan was, we did one show together, I think in 2017, and he's on my song Set Me Free. I can tell his lead out of anybody else's by the way he plays.
Oh, he's so unique.
It's like, it's very Zakk Wylde-ish in some ways, but then not really. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Dylan doesn't need anything to hide behind as far as effects and just fancy, whatever. Dylan's sound is in his fingers and in his personal style of playing.
Yeah, it's very unique.
Yeah, definitely. And he when he joined my band, I mean, he brought even more than just his guitar playing to the band. I mean, his personality, his stage presence, just everything about the guy. It just he brought a huge package to our band.
Yeah. Did you for the sound to get that 80s metal sound, like, because I like to talk about gear and stuff on the show too. Did you use different gear? Like, how did you go about that, saying like we want this to sound 80s, or is it more just in the mix?
It's honestly more in the mix. Okay. I mean, we did start using we were very into boutique amps about 5 years ago, playing like Dr. Z stacks.
Okay. Tube stuff too.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, Dr. D. And we did that for a long time. We switched to Marshall half stacks, Orange half stacks, and now we use everybody in the band uses Head Rush. Head Rush
Never heard
pedal.
of it. Never heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've gone
Okay.
all digital. We still use amps on stage, but we've gone all digital as far as the rig goes.
Okay. Kind of like a
And
fractal thing going on.
mhm,
That's
yeah,
cool.
you know, when Alex was really diving into Steel Panther a couple years ago.
Yeah.
He really liked the guitar tones on the first and second record.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
did a bunch of research on how they got those tones, and found that, you know, they were just going digital, man, and it was Head Rush that they were doing it with. So you know,
Okay.
a couple years later, now we're all playing Head Rushes. In fact,
One
Alex
thing
actually
changes.
is one of the only guys on the internet that offers a tutorial on how to use these pedals.
Really?
Mhm.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still a lot that's not really known about them, but Alex, like, he's like our big gear guy anyways. And yeah, he hosts like a weekly YouTube channel on how to use that and set up different rigs.
Oh, that's cool. I'll have
Yeah.
to check that out. I love stuff like that. And it's a lot easier too out there with because everyone's like the old days of all the big stacks and the amps. Even regular tube amps weigh like 1,000 pounds. So you're like,
Yeah.
you're saving on a lot. But you still go through cabinets or you go through cabinet simulators?
No, we still go through cabinets.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. We still put them through cabinets. So
Nice. Well, it saves a little bit on there.
yeah, I mean, we also we haven't jumped on the in-ear train yet either. So as a singer, I need those cabinets on stage.
Yeah. I am not an in-ear guy. I've never tried them, but I'm like, I don't know how I'd think about this because I do like to hear that room sound and that energy. But there's a lot of times too, as probably you've noticed, where you can't hear yourself, and you're like, I really wish I had them now.
Yeah,
But
I threw an ear setup when I was a bass player. Playing like in the church worship band Sunday mornings, and
yeah,
they were definitely helpful, and I can see the value in them. In our band in particular, it's just our style. Like I feel like we're too constricted playing with in ears, especially if we were to add like an element like a click.
yeah.
Just because with our band, it's important to have, when you're hearing us live, hearing the bass rush a little bit. I mean, hearing the kick fall behind for a second.
Yep,
that's
those
all
pushes.
part of like that sleaze rock and roll style. That's just how
That's what it is. I mean, they recorded to a click in the studio, obviously, but like live, nobody ever played to a click in the '80s. Even on the recordings, like you said, they would go off, they go on, kind of.
It's very hard. Like you have to be a certain type of band to make that to recreate that same energy to a click live.
Yeah, if you're Nickelback, it wouldn't work. Wouldn't work.
I'm sure they use them. But, yeah.
Well, it's interesting. So let's talk about your live acoustic going on, because you have we're going back, like you said, some Southern country like Wayward Son songs, and then you have the acoustic stuff, and then you got the '80s metal stuff. Let's talk about the acoustic thing before we jump into Take It Easy, which I want to get into.
Sure.
So what about the acoustic stuff made you want to do kind of that acoustic livey thing? To me, I always associate it with the acoustic Godsmack guys. They kind of started that with the percussion and the bass guitar. And so I don't know who your influences are too. We could talk about that here.
So as far as that record goes, what made that happen was so we were on tour in February 2019, and going into early March, we played our last show of that tour at Googs. It was a hometown show, and literally the next day is when the economy shut down because of COVID.
Yep.
And we had all kinds of plans to record what became the Renegade record. We had been sitting on all those songs, and we had planned on hitting the studio anyways that spring.
Yeah.
But COVID put the kibosh on it, and for the longest time, it was just myself, Dylan, at the time our bass player Johnny, and our manager, now turned bass player, Rob. We were the only ones in the band that had still been getting together every single week.
Oh,
And
okay.
it was one of those things where, because we didn't have our full lineup, able to sit in a room comfortably together and start tracking it together,
Yeah.
the rest of us, we just, every week we got together around a couple of mics with some acoustic guitars, and we just jammed. And we had zero intentions of writing a record, or recording a record, but
Yeah.
it was kind of just us jamming to acoustics and just doing fun renditions of our songs, plus a couple of others. And I'm sorry if you can hear all that noise. I'm literally like next to a big Loomis truck at the moment.
That's okay.
But anyways, to make a long story short, that record was us just jamming around some mics once a week, and they were tracked as is, no overdubs.
Okay.
And it became a live acoustic record. There was no special story behind it other than the fact that we were the only members of our group that were still getting together during COVID. And
yeah, it was something to do too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was important for us to still maintain a tight playing relationship with each other. I mean, there were bands that weren't getting together for months and months and months and months, and we refused to let that happen.
Yeah.
So, we still wanted to keep putting out content and staying tight with our playing. And that's how that Fear in the Valley record came out. We called it Fear in the Valley because at the time that we were doing that, very little was known about COVID and what exactly was going on in the world. It just felt like this big fear had swept the world.
Yeah.
And nobody understood what was going on. And, it was very like just ominous. And I don't know. I feel like we captured it with that record.
Yeah, it was questionable time too. You know what I mean? A lot of lives and bands and stories, and even the music industry. It's like, is this gonna go on? Where's it gonna go? Is it gonna all crash? Is it gonna
felt
be
like something out of like something that you'd see in like
a movie?
A movie. Yeah, it was so unreal.
I think it was called the movie Contagion with Matt Damon. It was almost, I mean, they made that 2012 or 13. It was almost the same situation as COVID. Like really close. But the only thing is, if you get it, you completely died if you got it in the movie.
Yeah.
But I was like,
don't they say that sometimes there's like soft disclosure in Hollywood? So
yeah, but I was like, well, we're talking, 6, 8 years, probably 8 years before this, and I'm like, like it's dang close.
Yeah.
But I'm a big horror movie fan too. I don't know if that comes into your music videos or your song ideas.
I'm not that into horror movies, to be honest. But I don't know. Like I said, it was kind of just the feeling in the world at the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There was a song on that record called "Blood on the Scales" that was kind of like a poetic, just recollection of start to finish how that timeline was playing out in the world.
Yeah.
And that's I was playing the mandolin, and we were doing like some synths and harmonicas, and I don't know, like somehow we captured just that gloominess and that weird gray area of what was going on in the world, and translated it to music, and it was all live, and it was really cool. Like there's some songs on that too that were just first time around, very sporadic, like Rebels, when we redid that one, and like it was just cool. Like I'll forever look upon that record as a time capsule. It's always going to remind me of the beginning of COVID. What was that like for the world?
Yeah, and hard to recreate it. You know what I mean? If you were to do it now, it's you might not have that feeling that you did. I know what you're saying. Yeah, that great gray scale. That's a perfect word to describe that time, because that's what it felt like to me. It was very gray.
I remember exactly what it felt like walking into a Stewart's and everybody's wearing masks. I mean, everybody's wearing masks for the first time.
Yeah, or they're just trying they're not trying to bump into each other, trying to stay away from everybody.
Yeah,
which
you're watching the news.
Hey, I didn't mind that as much, but some
like
people.
how bizarre was it that the news had a death toll? Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it was like something from Death Race or one of those movies. It's like, what the hell? Oh, now this show goes all over. The station's based in the UK. I'm sure it was different for them over there, but I have some fans over there in Canada, and Canada it lasted actually a long time. It didn't give up almost until like this year, as far as things fully kind of opening more. But with that, I know they love the rock and roll stuff more than the USA. For some reason, like the 80s metal and all the rock stuff, it does better in like Canada and UK and
Mhm.
Australia, New Zealand. And why do you think that is? Like, why do you think the US? Do you think it's just because they don't have them mainstream anymore? These award shows and all this, it's all perfectly catered to that. Does that make it, not popular anymore? Is rock dead? That sort of thing.
Maybe. I mean, maybe to all of those questions. My opinion would be that here in the States, we have quicker access to new and trendier technology like TikTok, Instagram. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like the youth here in the States, they move on to things far quicker because of that. I mean, they catch on to trends and things like that quicker. And I'm not saying that, in Europe that they're living in the Stone Age. I mean, I'm not saying that at all. I've lived in Europe actually for a long time, and um, life over there is still very interactive. It's very personally engaging. Like, you
Yeah.
don't see people on their phones constantly. I mean, people barely even own cars, in some of the major cities. And
Yeah.
um, I just feel like with them, when I mentioned like a time capsule earlier, they they uh, they find something and I don't know, they just have this loyalty to something that we don't experience over here in the US.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's a different
like,
feeling completely.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I mean, but even like the term like new wave glam metal, I mean, that came out of like the UK.
Yeah.
You had bands like even like with some like thrash and speed metal, like they had bands like Dragon Force that were like leading the way
Yeah.
over there
Those guys are
before bands
fast.
over here really caught on. Yeah.
Yeah. You had Def
I don't know.
Leppard.
I
You
think just
had,
because,
AC/DC is not an USA band. It's to me, even like you go to the Nickelbacks and stuff from Canada, a lot of the 3 Days Grace, those styles that are popular, a lot of them didn't come from here. I mean, Metallica did, Megadeth, um, but there's not as many as what we think. Then you had your Poisons and your Skid Rows and all those stuff, Motley Crues. That's kind of like the
yeah,
USA bands.
yep. I mean, I think in
Yeah.
Europe, I mean, I think that European bands are extremely talented and very creative. I just think that they have just a deeper loyalty factor to
Yeah.
those things than we do here. I think, yeah, like I said, I think it's because of emerging technology. We're just quicker to just catch the wave on something new.
Yeah. In some ways, I think they maybe spend more time developing their music gear and their instruments too. Because I always feel like when you order
Yeah.
something from UK or something like that, you're like, it's way better than like a made in America preamp. For some reason, I don't know. It just always has like a better, clearer sound or whatever it is. Not always. And there's some really, really great made in America stuff, but I'm just saying, kind of a general thing. I don't know if you ever noticed that, like guitars from certain places are better made, better sound. You're like, that's always solid if I order it from there, that sort of thing. But
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think a lot of even just the quality of their records too has a little bit
yeah,
more like glitz and a little more glamour. And
yeah,
um, have you heard of there's a band called Crazy Licks that I've been listening to a whole lot the past couple of years.
okay,
They're another like they're a hair metal band out of Sweden. They've got, I don't know, 3 4 records out maybe. I don't really know, but
okay,
um, they you know they're better than any American glam rock band I've ever heard. Like
wow. Maybe
the
I'll play them
quality of
during
their
your show
records.
here.
Yeah, the quality of their records is unbelievable, and they're a frontier band, so I mean that's a big label out that way, anyways, and they signed some pretty amazing acts, but
Yeah,
uh, like as far as what you were saying is like the gear and everything, like they're a band that's like ahead of the curve as far as gear and stuff they use. I'm pretty sure they too have gone all digital, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah, head of the game over there. Well,
Yeah.
let's move forward here to your recent music video release, "Take It Easy," and I noticed that song too is another different style than your other records. Is that always on purpose? Like you're trying to evolve and just kind of do new things, or just to reach kind of like a broader audience too?
It's definitely never on purpose. You know, we uh, we play all the time and we write all the time, and I think just because of the chemistry that we have together and just the amount of time that we spend with one another, I'd like to think of the music that comes out of it as very, very natural. Nothing is forced in our band. You know, I mean, there's songs sometimes that we work on for years and years because it just doesn't feel right at the moment.
Yeah.
But nothing's ever like on purpose like that. Take It Easy was a song, in fact, that we had been writing for like 2 years, and you know, we demoed it with 3 drummers, and the song was rewritten constantly. Just
Yeah.
you know, the music and the lyrics are constantly rewritten just because I don't know, we grow. You know, we listen to different types of music. You know, we're inspired by, you know, new records and old records, and
Let the
you know,
song grow too. That's what I would say. What's the best for the
yeah,
song? And eventually it'll get there.
exactly. I'm a
Yep.
I'm a big proponent that like a good song is a good song regardless of what media it's recorded on, what gear you're using, and you know, all of that stuff. Like
Yeah.
I think that if you just feel it, it'll come out right. You'll just know when it's right. And
Yeah. Yep.
when we had finally like demoed it to the point where we're like, okay, yeah, now it feels pretty good. We immediately went into the studio and we tracked it in 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah. And it should be easy. That should be the easy part. Be like, once it feels good, it's a lot easier than I know the feeling of just something that's like it's not there and this isn't working, and like you said, you get other people in and you almost feel like scrapping it. I don't know if you ever feel like that. I'm like, maybe you should just scrap it. And then you listen to it maybe a year later and you're like, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, it happens all the time. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I'm sitting on so many demos and song ideas. I mean, when we you know, because we're writing a record right now actually, that we've got about halfway done,
Okay.
um and every time we get to a point where we're like, oh, okay, you know, this is going to be the final one for this record, this is going to be the final one for that one, something new comes out already, or
Yeah.
you know, a new idea you know, comes to mind, and we go back into the studio and retrack something. It just happens
Yeah.
constantly, but I think it's just because, you know, like I said, we spend that much time with each other and we talk about the songs uh so much together that just I don't know, we're full of ideas constantly. I mean, we're constantly pumping out content in that
Yeah.
sense.
Oh yeah. And I noticed too you do like 8-song, 7-song albums too, like the old days.
Yeah,
That's cool.
so and that's not always by choice. I mean, I would
Yeah.
love to do a full length, and we toy with it every year. But you know, let's face it. I mean, the music industry has changed. You know, people's attention spans have changed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, our generation still listens to albums, but
I do,
um,
yeah. When
yeah,
somebody releases an album, even whoever you guys, I listen. That's what I listen to. It's not in a shuffled playlist. It's let's
exactly. Yeah,
listen to the first
same.
song that the artist painstakingly said this is the first song that you're gonna listen to, and then all the way through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, listeners today, the younger listeners aren't like that. Like, they're just adding singles to their playlists and
Yes.
EPs. You know, bands release a lot of EPs because they have more opportunity to rebrand themselves multiple times a
Yep.
year. So they, rather than on an album cycle, which like an album cycle is 2-3 years sometimes. You know, a band sticks to one type of brand
Used to
because
be.
of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you know, if you're putting out you know, 2-3 EPs a year, sometimes you can rebrand yourself every time. You know, even
Yeah.
more singles. Um, you know, yeah, so we've put out a lot of EPs just because I don't know. It's better for us to continue playing shows and put our focus in other areas that matter, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
not spend a year in a recording studio. you know?
Yeah, and a lot of times, because I'm with the same boat, I've never made a record. I've only made EPs, and that's
Mhm.
the same reason. And a lot of times too, when I listen to these 12-track albums, even some of the artists will admit it that there's 3 songs that are fillers. They had to fill it. So I'm like,
Yeah,
well, if it was really an 8-song or 9-song album and they put that little extra time into those other songs, those 9 songs would all be singles. They'd be really, really solid. So that's how I feel. I feel like they all should be singles. You know what I mean? No fillers.
yeah. I was listening to an interview a couple years ago with Anne Berlin, and they were talking about how when they record albums, how they pretty much only plan on playing about 40% of that material.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah.
60% is fan favorites and hits. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that, but from what guys like on our level, you and I, we just find it better to put out EPs, have a handful of new songs to introduce to an audience, especially
Yeah.
if it's an audience. Most of the time, you know as well as I do, 90% of the time you're going to play to an audience that you know has probably heard you
Yeah.
multiple times. They're looking for you to fill up a 30-minute set with stuff that they've never heard before.
Yeah.
Um,
Not the
and
same songs. Yeah.
in,
Because when
in
you're an
our
album, you're stuck playing 2 years of the same stuff, and that's all you got.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know?
Like in our case, we want to keep playing live, and we want to keep doing music videos, and even from like a financial standpoint, like we're trying to put whatever money we scrap towards
Yes.
other
Yep.
creative outlets, and it can't all just be put into a full length every year. So
Everybody out there, make sure you check out "Take It Easy." I was gonna say that was very well shot and edited too, because I'm into film stuff, and I really like that one. I think the best that you guys done so far for
thank,
videos.
thank you.
That was a cool one.
Quick shout out to Riley Balcom. Riley, good job, buddy.
Great. I love the black and white kind of stuff too. I
Yeah,
like
we
that.
we intended to go for like kind of like a gothic element to it. We had changed the treatment of it at the last minute because we
Okay.
had gone through a drummer change, and the part that was originally written for our drummer um, was such an important part that it just didn't work out anymore. So when we had changed drummers, the entire treatment of the video changed, and
Yeah.
we pretty much had the treatment set and finalized 6 days before the video shoot took place, and we had to get all of our ducks in a row real quick. And
Jeez.
yeah,
That's the
but
film
we
world
pulled it
right
off.
there. You just do it.
Yeah, we pulled it
Yeah.
off. So
Yeah.
it was cool because I told Riley, our director, I said, hey, I was like, I have I have this idea and it's crazy and I don't know how to execute it, but I'm pretty sure that you do. So here you go, work with it.
Do it.
He did a fantastic
Think of
job.
it.
So
Oh boy. Any shout outs you want to give the people out there?
yeah, actually, who doesn't get enough credit is our actress Jessica Veritas. She was also in our last video, Renegade Love, and
Okay.
she does like some alt tattoo modeling, and she's just a fantastic person. Has zero acting experience. Like I'm pretty sure we're the only band that she's actually done any film footage for, and
Really? Okay.
yeah, she's done fantastic in both of our videos, and a lot of like the hits and stuff that we're getting on this is because that thumbnail on the video with her with the flower in her eye is just so striking.
Yes. You're
So
like, what is this? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. So
It's a
Jess,
little
you did a great job.
evanescency, like some of that kind of stuff too, visually,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
I
yeah,
like.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
well, both Jess and Riley just did a fantastic job, and
Yeah.
they worked on a very low budget. So
We all do. We all do. Got
yeah,
to do what we got to do. You know what I
ain't
mean?
that
But
the
a lot
truth?
of it now is camera quality and editing. There's a
Mhm.
lot you can do just with lighting. You've got a really good camera, and then hopefully you can edit really well. And because all that extra stuff, the look, the lens flares, the coloring, the
Mhm.
LUTs, everything is you can make or break a video. So it's very important to work with someone you
Yeah,
know and you trust. You know what I mean?
yeah, and with the past couple of videos, we've been huge now on location. And like we have to absolutely nail a backdrop. before any of the other stuff can find its way into the video. So, you know, with the last video, a Renegade, you know, we had used an entire high school. You know, this time, you know, we shot it up in the beautiful mountains of Whitehall.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, our backdrops for us lately have been perfect. That's what's been really like inspiring, like all the extra content being thrown in. So.
Yeah, dig it. Keep doing it. So we're gonna look forward to a new album this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're still on the fence as to you know, EP or full length. We don't know. We have enough material.
Maybe early 2023 then, if it's more.
Yeah, I honestly, I think I'm leaning more towards the EP route. I think that we will have an EP probably ready to go September, early October even, at least. But the material's there for a full length. We just don't know as far as, you know, strategically if that's the best move for us, because we are already booking tour dates into the fall.
Okay.
And
you have a PR campaign going on, which I found out about for the single. So I was like, well, there's got to be a record or something in the works.
Yeah, and there is. We're just trying to figure out strategically what's going to make the best sense for us, just because it's been a long time since we've gone on tour, and getting tour dates lined back up this fall is huge for us. And
where can people go see that on your Facebook websites?
Yeah, on Facebook, and if people go to the midnightrevivalband.rocks, that's got our confirmed dates on it, but there's a lot more right now that are still being confirmed. But we're going to be hitting up Pennsylvania and Ohio and Rhode Island and Nashville and Georgia, and we're just waiting on some last confirmations, and then who knows, if we get lucky, maybe we'll even be on the Kiss cruise. That's up to the fans to decide. So
you and Mariah Formica there from Plush. Now she's doing very well too. I've interviewed her a couple times before she was in that band, but that was crazy what's going on with her too. But we're all I like it because we're all in the rock style. It's like, let's bring it back, man. Let's do it. You know, rock needs to be elevated more, I think, in general.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a unique position in the sense that, like, we already have all of this recorded material that we can put out any day.
Yeah.
And we have tour dates being lined up. We got to do what makes the most sense for us right now. So.
Yeah, and you judge based off, because if you get some PR, I know in some areas and this, you might want to cater towards that a little bit, and you do some more interviews, and that dictates kind of where you go or what you do sometimes next. Before we go, I want to ask you, where did you come up with the Midnight Revival band name?
There's no special meaning behind it per se, but when we about a little over 10 years ago, I was in another full-time rock band. We were called Cosmonauts.
I remember that because we did one show some years ago. I don't know if it was with this band. I think it was the other band. I'm
pretty sure actually that may have even been the last time I actually ran into you. I don't know. Like, I remember
pretty sure
out of Denny's. We had both of our bands had just played a Halloween show somewhere.
Yes.
And I ran into you at Denny's. We were both wearing makeup. It's real awkward.
I was the Crow or the Riddler or something. I can't remember.
I think you were the Riddler.
Yeah, something like that. Yep.
But so that band, cool band. I'm still in good friends with everybody there, and we had a deal fall through with Victory Records, and it was kind of like the nail in the coffin. That's just when everybody decided, okay, it's time to move on, make life work, and I was really the only one who decided, like, no, like, I'm this close, like, I'm not going to give up now. And I started a band called The Quick and the Dead.
Okay.
And we put out a 4-track EP, and literally within that same year, we had solidified our lineup from 3 to 6 people, and we're like, okay, you know what? Like, the music's already evolving into something a little more rock and roll and classic sounding.
Yep.
We need a name that just sounds classic. So that was honestly the idea. We just wanted a name that sounded classic. We felt like the Midnight Revival Band was something that people could relate to if they were listening to music from the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. But it's also it's new age with, if you just took Midnight Revival, that's kind of like, I don't know what you call them. Those new,
Yeah,
real
and
heavy kind of bands.
exactly. And around that time, it was just trendy in 2015 for bands to start the songwriter in the somethings. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember that.
That was 2015, 2016. That was a trend. It went away again, but I don't know. The name is already solidified, so it just
Yep. Even
stayed with
John Mayer did it. John Mayer did it for like a couple years. That was big, and then it was like John and the Garbage Band, whatever it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Tom Petty was, I think, the first one really to kind of start that vibe, even though he wasn't hard rock. But
I mean, maybe popularize it in like
yeah,
the modern
yeah,
age, but I mean, there were tons of bands in the '50s that were doing that. So
yeah. Well, it used to be Elvis and the band. You still see that every once in a while. Like the band is just called the band, but people didn't realize the band was actually that's what they were called, the band.
yeah,
I never knew that for a while. So I don't know. Everyone out there is a new Elvis movie. Go support some rock and roll out there at your movie theaters. I'm a big movie guy, so
big Elvis fan right here. Yep.
just throwing it out there, folks. Thanks very much. Besides that, thanks for being on the show, man. I know you're local and you got to get back to work here, but we will be uploading this to our social medias and tune in every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. UK time, and catch the reruns too. You know what I mean? I always say chime in on our social medias. Go to Joe's page. Make sure you comment on stuff. His videos. He's on Spotify. Share it with your friends. I find a lot of people liking things, especially on Facebook. They never talk anymore at all. Leave a comment if you like it. Say, that's cool, or just a thumbs up or something for us. Because believe it or not, it helps our pages because we're dealing with the machines. It's like the Terminator world out there. And this algorithm comes in. And so the more you guys comment and interact with things, the more it's seen to all of our other followers. So we all appreciate that if you guys can do that for everybody you like, everybody out there.
Yep.
What do you
Thanks,
think?
man.
What do you think, Joe?
Totally, man. Technology has, it's made being in a band easier and yet still far harder for some reason.
Yes,
So,
yes, the reach.
Because, now we're going up against computers and algorithms. So,
Dun, 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 dun,
not to
dun.
mention the pool of millions of bands that sprouted up because of it. So,
I know. It's crazy, man. Well, thanks for being on the show. Radio Wigwam, only here, Palangi Studio of Rock. I want to say, too, that this show is sponsored by Alyssa Ebersold Concert Photography. If you don't know her, check her out because she does a lot of live stuff in the area as well, Joe. And she does graphic design stuff. She'd be
Cool.
someone to team up with if you're doing a show, you want some pictures. She shot everything from Daughtry to Mariah's stuff. She's done some of my photos. Very good. Keen eye, very sharp images, which I like.
yeah, I never say no. It's extra hands.
I'll send her send you her info.
Sure, man. But time, man. It's been a long time. I've really caught up. So
I was almost gonna say let's do this live in the real studio here, but I'm like I don't know if I have a double mic situation going on right now for Zoom for recording this. But someday let's do. I'll rig up some mics or something. We can do it. We can do a follow up in the studio here.
for
Be
sure,
cool.
man. For sure. Hey, by the way, I was a big fan of the Breaking Benjamin cover you did with Between Now and Forever.
Yeah, those guys are cool. Rodney.
So good job. That was awesome.
That's still number one on everything. I'm like, I don't know why. People love Breaking Benjamin. I'm like, they're like, we kind of look like him too. And I was like,
Yeah.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. Well, check out my song "Set Me Free" because that's the one Dylan does a guitar solo on. You will absolutely know he's playing guitar. Back in the day.
Buddy.
All right, man. Thanks for being on. I appreciate it. Everybody out there, make sure you go check out his social media and all the stuff. As I say, you can stream the music, but download it, folks, for us. Please download the music if you dig it. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Palangi Studio of Rock. Joe here from the Midnight Revival Band. I'll see you guys soon.
See you, bro.